Susan Morrell. And she is working on our competent communication speech number 3, Get to the Point. The title of her speech is Don't Make an Ass of Yourself. And it's about the importance of getting clarification and setting expectations. Her objectives are select a topic and determine its general and specific purposes, ensure beginning, body, and conclusion, reinforce purposes, project sincerity and conviction, control nervousness, strive to not to use notes, and the delivery time is 5 to 7 minutes. Please welcome Susan.
Don't assume. Why? Because it makes an ass out of you and me. According to Merriam-Webster's dictionary, one of the definitions of assume is when you believe something is true or probably true without knowing, in fact, that it is true. Now, we've all done it. We've all been that ass where we've assumed something. We've set expectations for someone, or we set expectations for something to happen. And when it didn't happen and meet our expectations, we've been disappointed in the outcome. Now, to make sure I don't assume that you understand what I'm talking about, I'm going to share a little experience that I had. In 1981, I was living in Westchester County, New York. And I went to a Halloween party at my boss's house in New Jersey. And while there that evening, I met her brother-in-law, Bill. And on the drive home that night, I got to think, and I think, you know, I kind of like Bill. I wouldn't mind going out with Bill. But how do I make that happen? Now, it was the 1980s. And a lot of the women's magazines and in the movies and TV shows, they were touting that women should and could assert themselves more, take more responsibility for their lives. And they even encouraged us to take the initiative and ask a guy out instead of waiting or hoping that he'd ask you out. So I thought, I'll ask Bill out. Now, the thing is, well, I decided I would make it safety in numbers. I had an invitation from Brotherhood Winery in New York for a wine tasting party on a Saturday night in November, and I could bring 9 other guests. I thought, I'll invite them to that, and then there'll be some other friends with us, and it'll be a fun experience. Well, thinking about it and doing it are 2 different things. And boy, did I earn a deep respect for you guys. And what you have to go to make that initial call to ask a woman out with the fear of rejection looming overhead. So a couple of glasses of beer later and a little deep breathing and some rehearsing, I finally dialed Bill's number. And he answered right away. And he remembered me. All good signs, I figured, right? So we chatted a little bit, and then I said, okay, and I jumped off the deep end, and I said, Bill, would you like to go with me to a wine tasting party at Brotherhood Winery on November such and such? And he said, yes. Wow, I was just so excited. And then I said, now this is one of those wine tasting parties. So I'll invite your brother and sister-in-law, and I mentioned a couple other mutual friends. And I said, now I have a single friend, Gail, who wants to come. Do you have a friend that you can bring? Oh, yeah. I said, fine. Got my 10 people. I invited Bill out. I was excited. Now, logistically, I lived on the east side of the Hudson River in New York. The winery was on the west side of the Hudson River, New York, where New Jersey happens to be. So we decided we'd just all meet at the front gate. Well, Gail and I drove over together. And Gail kept asking me, so what's my date like? I said, I don't know. I barely know Bill. I have no idea what he's like. Well, I hope he's not blonde. You know I prefer dark hair. I said, no, beggars can't be choosers, Gail. Why not? So we get there first, and we're standing at the gate. And I look, and I'm about a head taller than Gail. So I'm looking, and I see their van pull in. And I'm watching. Uh-oh. What? Gail said. I said, look. And then the crowds kind of part. And there was my date, Bill, walking toward me. And right next to him was this blonde, perky, petite woman. My date had brought a date. Well, Gail and I were shocked. We didn't say anything right away because, you know, we didn't want to ruin the things. All she did was say, damn, my date's a blonde. Well, we managed to get through the party with the two of us with our little secrets, although we did get a couple good jives in. Hey, tell your date to get his hand off my date's butt. Oh, yeah? Well, tell your date to get her tongue out of my date's ear. Well, I'd messed up somewhere, obviously. I had assumed he knew when I said, would you like to go with me, I meant as my date. And I had assumed he knew when I said, I got a friend, Gail, do you have a friend? I meant a male friend for her. So our wires got crossed. And the thing is, that's what happens when we assume. Our wires get crossed. And assuming can cause problems. Minor problems like that day, and also major problems. So what can we do to avoid those problems? We have to set our expectations very clearly to whoever or whatever we're talking about. And if you're on the receiving end, ask for clarification. Make sure you're both on the same page before you go on. Now, a better adage than don't assume is better safe than sorry, right? And just as an aside, a couple weeks later, I saw Bill when we were down in Rockefeller Center, the Christmas tree lighting. So I said to him, hey, Bill, remember when I called and asked you to go to that wine tasting? He went, oh, yeah, Susan, that was so much fun. That was, no, Bill, remember when I called you and I invited you to go with me to the wine? Oh, yeah. Oh. Finally, the light bulb goes off and he recognizes what had happened. Now, to his credit, he was apologetic and he felt bad. He even asked me out. But I decided, nah, I just chalked it up to a lesson in why we shouldn't make assumptions.